recruit primarily young people. Sometimes we get career changers to do foster care casework. And we've been doing it for 5 years, and we've had some success. We don't think we have all the answers. We're very humble in doing this work, but we've learned some things that I'm going to share today, and we're hoping to continue to work with the partners here. I was thinking as each person spoke, when Joan spoke, she's from NASW, and I was like, did I send in my dues this year or not? I'm always in trouble for that, but they have great reminder people who always call you to tell you didn't pay your dues yet. And I think for me, when Helen spoke, I'm a proud social worker. I'll be 25 years post MSW next year, and I love being a social worker. And I think the ability for us to take trained BSWs and MSWs and put them out in the field is a critical piece of the future, so I applaud that. Our program does a little bit outside that, and so we try to teach people it doesn't have to be either or a lot, right? So we do that, and we recruit non-social workers who have characteristics that make us think they would be good. And the great news is those people with related degrees like psychology and sociology and family studies, sometimes at 22 you didn't know you wanted to be a social worker yet. You weren't as smart as Brandi and went for your BSW and your MSW, right? So we get those people in the fold, and over half of them go back. 74% actually go back for related degrees, MSW, Masters in Mental Health Counseling, psychology, things like that. So we're really proud to do the BSW, MSW piece of this and bring other people in who might not otherwise do child welfare and get a lot of them to go back for MSWs. So I think within the administration's proposals, just to think about that, if we're saying we recruit non-BSWs, but we're hoping that most of them go back for MSWs. So it's really congruent. I also think both people spoke about the culture. That's critical. No matter how hard we work, and I'll tell you about our program in a few minutes, if the culture of the organization is so negative and so punitive, and every time there's a problem going on, you blame the worker or blame the supervisor, it's just not going to work. So the culture of the organizations is critical to the work, and I think that the integrated approach where we're trying to figure out how to do that organizational change within organizations, whether it be private, not-for-profits, counties, states, etc. That's a piece that we just have to attack. Of our dropout rate, almost 90% of the dropout rate is attributable to lack of support and supervision and a culture where they felt they weren't appreciated and just was really, really negative. So I think no matter what we do for the workforce side, if we don't figure out how to help the organizations, and we're strength-based, right? Every organization who does this work is trying the best they can. Some struggle more than others. So our program is pretty simple. It's a three-pronged approach. We recruit and select a very specific way. Then we train them before they start. We actually start our 6th cohort next Tuesday, right after July 5th. We do that at the Columbia School of Social Work in New York. Right now we're only based in New York, but we're in discussions in Northeast Ohio to hopefully launch in Cleveland soon, and then depending on how things go, spread to other cities and counties. We're hoping some of the quality improvement centers, we don't have the research wherewithal to be part of that in the initial phase, but as they look at potential strategies, we know some of the players, and we're hoping they might look at the Children's Corps as one of the strategies to try. And as was said, we need many, many solutions here. There's many, many problems, right? So we're hoping to be part of that. So we do the recruitment and selection one way. We do the pre-service training in the summer, and then we give them ongoing training and support. You can't just put people out there and hope that they're going to be ready. No matter how well prepared, how many degrees, the challenges of the work are too many. So 3 prongs: recruit and select, train before they start, and then support. In the recruitment and selection phase, we use traits and characteristics to hire people rather than degrees. So again, although we give extra points for MSW and BSWs, I want to emphasize that, we value that. If you have a psychology degree and follow our outline, and you end up having all the characteristics, you have a BSW and you have none of the characteristics, the non-BSW might get the job. And this is based on work done by the University of Maine. Frida, whose last name I can never say.
Bernatovich.
Say it?
Bernatovich.
So we used her study. We always credit her. She's done amazing work. And so we use those as the way that we hire. So in your application, we look for those characteristics and traits. We give extra points for BSW, MSW. In New York, we need a lot of Spanish-speaking people, so we give extra points for Spanish-speaking. There's a weighted system. But one of the things that I learned over the years is getting the right people, and somebody said that earlier today, is really key to this. If you don't have the right person, it doesn't matter how much training you give them. And so one of the things that I heard once, and this I totally stole, I just don't remember who I stole it from, was an HR kind of person. He said, you can hire an elephant and train him how to climb a tree, or you could just hire a squirrel. And the squirrel just naturally climbs the tree. So we're looking, our second year class called themselves the Squirrels. So we're trying to look for people, and just being a good social worker, actually, empathetic, non-judgmental. They don't see, you're not a convict or a drug addict, you're a person, you're a mom, you're a dad, who may or may not have done that crime, who struggles with substance abuse. You're not identified by the worst thing that ever happened in your life, which might have been that weekend you abused your kids. You're always a person first. And so we work really hard to get people, the right people. And I'm happy, I don't think in this kind of briefing we can go into too much detail, so I'm happy to share that with you. If you take the blue packages outside, we have a lot of information there. And we share tons of information at no cost. My board of directors doesn't like that, but we just want to really make the system better. We can give technical assistance for a fee. We've done that for a couple of states. Nancy's here from NICWE, I think is one of the most amazing organizations at just understanding child welfare workforce needs, doing the research, but then really being able to disseminate it in a way that you can understand it and use it. So I just wanted to make sure, if you don't already know about NICWE, you should go to their website. Almost anything I can tell you today is there. And I'm looking at Nancy, I don't know if she gets extra money or applause for that. But it's really a phenomenal resource, and we've been fortunate to partner with them. We actually did a webinar on recruitment and got hundreds of people, and then we ended up, several states called us and we did training on how to recruit with those states for small fees. So recruitment is critical. The training I want to talk about, most of you know the training, we talk about the content, so they need to understand a lot of different things. But for us, I would encourage you to think about creating a cohort. So for us, the process of the training is equally important to the content of the training. We build a team. If I'm gonna cry and have a horrible case 3 months in, I talk to my friend who I met at the summer training. When I'm thinking of quitting, I call my colleague, or we go out for brunch together. There's an importance of building that cohort and that teamwork that goes beyond the agencies that you're at. Because you're not as comfortable sharing my supervisor is really a pain in the neck. I cleaned up pain in the neck for you guys, by the way. It's a Senate building, you gotta be respectful. But if my supervisor's a pain in the neck, I'm not gonna complain to the director who I know she's friends with for 30 years. So that safety to be able to talk to, I do think, it doesn't have to be us, I never wanna be self-serving, but having an outside organization, in our case it's called Children's Corps, and our organization's Fostering Change for Children, that we provide that support, that's really important. So in the summer training, it's the process of the training, the team building, teaching them how to stick it out for 2 years is as important as going through the domestic violence curriculum and understanding child abuse and identifying. So we have all the same things that you would think, but we also do a lot of team building and a lot of how are you gonna survive the system? Because no matter how good you are, if you quit 6 months in, it doesn't matter how empathetic and wonderful and understanding you are. So we really look for resilience is one of the things. We call it the grit factor. Like someone who's really gonna stick it through, and so I think it's all these things together help. Then our last prong is the support piece. Ongoing monthly meetings, ongoing professional mentors, ongoing now we're big enough, we have mentors from previous children's course, so our alum are mentors to new people. As we grow nationally, it's gonna be interesting to see how that plays in. We have a lot of alum now in different states that have graduated. They help others get jobs in their state. So it's a nice networking. So the 3 prongs again, recruitment and selection, pick the right people, summer training, build a cohort, and really give them what they need to start. By the way, we never teach them what to do. We teach them how to think. A lot of people are like, oh, what's the answer when this happens? There is no answer to almost, if you've done child welfare long enough, every situation, every family is different. So we need to give you a whole bunch of things to think about and teach you to be a critical thinker, not teach you that, well, when this happens, you do X. So we do a lot of that. And then the ongoing support, I think, is a critical piece, so all 3 prongs. So our statistics are all in your folder, so I'm not gonna bore you with too many of them, but it's a couple of the biggest things. So in New York, the retention rate's around 60%. It's even hard to get the data, right? We always want data, but we know how impure the data is sometimes in child welfare. But the best we could do, our group that covers all the private agencies, which in New York, they do all the foster care and prevention work, had a study a few years back where 60 to 65%, about 35 to 40% leave every year. And our program that started at the same time, we were able to do about 86 or 87% stay the first year. So it's a significant difference. And we hope the quality, it's hard quality right now, it's anecdotal. It's really hard to prove some of these things, but we're gonna try. So we're really proud of those successes and we wanna keep sharing them. Right now we're planning to try to go to Cleveland, Ohio. As we speak, I have to get on Amtrak and get back and do conference calls and all those kind of things. And it's a challenge because I don't know, how many of you here are from the Senate side of things, like you work for somebody here? Okay. How many of you are here from an agency or a county or a state? Just a few. So you guys know, this is really hard. And the county and the states, depending on where you're from and which senator you represent, it's different. Like if you do this in New York City, it's very different from doing it in a rural part of the country. And in some parts of the country, the county or state do everything, and as was pointed out, so nice, the privates do a lot of the work in a lot of states, and that's happening more and more. My guess is the trend will go that way because the cost of public pensions and healthcare is so significant that privatizing, they know their fixed costs, they pay the agency X and they're done. So it's really hard to figure out on the county, state, and private side, it's very different. Some are union, some aren't, but we're taking all that into account. Again, we're called Children's Corps. The biggest thing I think that we can do for you is help you to realize this has to be a priority. So this is where I get the couple minutes that I just have left before I hand it over to Brandi. It's not about Children's Corps or the University of Pittsburgh or Title IV-E. There are hundreds of thousands of young people who grow up in a crazy system who need help. And if you don't take the time to pay attention to that, they end up homeless and incarcerated at rates that cost us multiple billions of dollars. And so from the money side, it saves money, but more importantly, it changes lives. Every kid that's here this summer, I hope that they impress you with how important it is to think about that young person. But these are the superstars who made it to the summer internship on the Capitol Hill. There are hundreds of thousands of foster kids like them who are not there. They're out on the corner, they're running away from their foster home, they're not happy in their group home. They're the future of this country. We can either show them that we care, and we're gonna spend and invest in people who work with them or not. And I truly do believe, all other things aside, no matter how many initiatives you come up with, it would be like coming up with a great new whiteboard in education and an amazing new curriculum. And then the kids walk in, they don't know what to do because there's no teacher at the front of the room. Without the teacher, all the new curriculums don't matter. Everybody knows a good teacher is what matters to kids in education. A good social worker is what matters to kids in foster care. So please take the time, if you're on the Senate side, talk to whatever you need to vote for the initiatives. People like John and the people in this room who know how to do the advocacy part. I do the work on the front lines. I tip my hat to everybody in here who's good at the advocating. All my partners in here who do the work, thank you for the time and energy that you put into this. And I want to leave time for Brandi for questions, so I think I'm good for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.